come on, it's me. Monday night, got my great guest on in a couple of minutes is Anthony Brown, the great artist, international artist. I had a great guest on last week, and hopefully within the next few weeks I'll have both John McCardle and Anthony on talking Liverpool. That's what I want. That's what I want. Those two fantastic people. Anyway, I've got them on in a moment, and it's why I'm late. We were discussing tomorrow night's podcast about Liverpool. So that was it. That's basically it. And I've just got to say hello to these lovely people a minute. Hang on a sec. Right. Hello, please, Tony Barton. He always sends me 2 pints. I'll be drunk with him. Just imagine virtual pints. Could you imagine me with them? Mark Kinnish, evening Frank, hope you're well. Great seeing you last week. Really enjoyed it a lot. Looking forward to the walking tour just for the ones who were on the coach. Absolutely. Absolutely, Mark. And tell Lynn to get hold of them. Please, for me. Evening Frank, hope you're recovered from the coach. Yeah. Listen, Lynn, I want you to get hold of those people, the same people. I really need to take them out because they were absolutely wonderful. Is that okay? Just on a little walking tour, and tell them I'm giving a special discount as well. Okay. I'll see you later. I've got to bring on my wonderful friend. And there he is, Mr. Anthony Brown himself. How are you? Oh, good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm a little bit like yourself under the watchful eye of our beautiful NHS at the moment. Bits and pieces, but I'm good. I'm good with it, and I'm fab. I'm looking forward to talking. And I'm looking forward to hearing about you because I know you were going on your tour last week. When I listened to you and John, I think you were going a couple of nights after
right,
that.
That's right. I did too, actually.
Wednesday and Thursday.
And you know what I was made up with, though? I've been getting out and about because of what happened to me. But I was a bit apprehensive, I'm being honest, because it would have been it's an all day, you see. But I did the two on consecutive days, and it was brilliant. I was made up, within myself. So I was made up with that. You can imagine, how I felt, and it was absolutely brilliant. Do you know what? You'd have to come on again. Do you know what I want you to do, Anthony, if you're up to it? I'm taking people out who came on the Lynn Ellis's organisation, a girl named Lynn Ellis, and they were beautiful, lovely people. And I'm going to show them things you don't even know, if you fancy it. I've got to come out with a date first, though. Because she's just said, I'm sure she's just said, got to come out with a date.
Well,
that's what she said. John and Frank, they are all good. They're all good, waiting for me to give them a date. And Lynn, give them a date anytime. And this one for you. Evening, Anthony, says Mark Kinnish.
Evening, Mark. Thank you. Hope you're well.
Tony Barton, he sends you the pints and a thumbs up. Hello, Anthony.
Oh, thanks, Tony. Right back to you.
Oh, that's great. And Charlie Cairns, he always calls me Only the Lonely because I've always been on my own. Even in Frank, Only the Lonely, and Anthony.
Yeah.
Charlie Cairns. I used to go to school with Charlie, I went to school with him, and he's one of the... He's like yourself. He's a lovely person, But get onto this. He's on one of them scooters, that has to take him around, shops and whatever. Anyway, um, he went to Wales a few weeks ago. You're not going to believe this. He went to Wales a few weeks ago. You know, with a scooter, and they were having a race. They went somewhere.
Oh,
There was a race with scooters organised, scoots, and he won. He won.
oh,
I said,
well
did you
done,
go on a
Charlie.
motorbike? Did you choose to go on a motorbike? Absolutely. Oh,
Oh,
brilliant. Lovely, lovely fella. And evening chap says Charlie Wood. Lovely man,
evening,
eh,
Charlie.
Charlie? Do you know what? He just celebrated his anniversary, and it's just everyone's nice on here. Everyone, and even on the podcast, they're all lovely people. So listen, what have you been up to, Anthony?
I've been doing a bit of drawing,
Oh yeah,
and dipping back into some painting. Um,
yeah,
I'm plotting and scheming the way we do.
yeah,
And the more you plant something, that it goes on target, and it wonderfully morphs into different things. So I've
yeah,
been doing more reading than anything.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm starting a project which is always dear to my heart.
Right.
The thing that uh, I've always bounced off has been my love of music.
Yeah, of
Music
course.
is the greatest inspiration for me painting, and it's a reciprocal thing. But I I have my heroes from way back. I'm a big blues fan,
Mm,
going way back to the likes of Robert Johnson, and then
yeah,
onwards from there. And in my plotting of who I'm painting, there's a few names popped up, and maybe at some point when I get a few of the canvases done, we'll talk about them. But there's one name that keeps popping up amongst all of these heroes. Now, I knew he was there. A wonderful, wonderful man. The world has sadly lost him now. Um, but he discovered a lot of the talent that we take for granted now,
mm, mm.
and it's kind of strange in that to see the links going right back to the 1930s
Oh,
and
right.
ends in the 1980s, and his signings include um, nearly Robert Johnson. But a guy who took Robert Johnson's, he went looking for Robert Johnson to put him on stage in front of a large capacity Carnegie Hall. And this wonderful chap's name was John Hammond. But unfortunately, Robert Johnson had died or been killed the week before the gig was due. So someone else took his place, who was another one of my heroes. But John Hammond then went on to sign, when no one else wanted to know him, the likes of Billie Holiday, Charlie Christian, the
Can
jazz
I
guitar.
just come in there, Billie Holiday?
Yeah,
Now, Billie Holiday, she was. It was while there was terrible, more or less apartheid in America, wasn't it? Really?
absolutely. The
And,
lynchings and everything.
yeah, and she was a great singer. She was
Yeah,
more like jazz as well, though, wasn't she, Billie Holiday?
she was jazz. Yes, she was jazz.
Yeah,
Indeed, indeed, you're right, Frank. And she came from um, abject poverty,
yeah,
as did later the likes of Ella Fitzgerald, with total traumatized background,
yeah,
and they find their voice by their creativity, as do lots of writers and artists and musicians, as we know we talked about before. But this one particular guy made it his business. He came from wealth. His family was money, but he wasn't interested in living a money life. his interest was presenting, as you do on the show. You present people that we should know about and we
Yeah,
don't.
absolutely.
So that was his passion. So it was through blues music and jazz music, and later rock music. He signed Bruce Springsteen, Dylan, Bob Dylan, and the last person he signed in the early 80s was a guy called Stevie Ray Vaughan, who is magnificent guitar player. Sadly, we lost him. And then we lost John Hammond. But when you look back at the legacy of people, the whole concept of what I wanted to do changed, because I thought he's got to be the figurehead, and all of these wonderful genius talents around, like the ringmaster. And again, like yourself, because we go through school, I went through school and I don't feel I learned much in history. Loved history with a passion, but we were never taught local history.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is it's a strange. Do you know how I got into local history? A friend of mine, he opens up an adult.
Yeah.
So I was with university then, I was lecturing for them. And he said, "What are you doing tomorrow?" And I went, "Nothing really." I said, "I'm not working tomorrow. This is on the Sunday." He phones me up on the Sunday. "What are you doing tomorrow?" On the Monday. So anyway, and what I did, I went down to see him because he asked me to go down. He said, "There's a little like buffet thing, and because we're opening it up." It was what you call second chance, So anyway, I went down, and this is what happened. Seen Georgie Allen, his name is, great fella, smashing fella, and he lived on the same block as me, in Jerry Crescent. He lived overhead, and his parents were fantastic people as well. And anyway, I goes down. And Lord Leverhulme is there, and he's going around. He's a bit of an eccentric, to be honest, He's going around. He said, "What do you do?" I said, "I don't know." He said, because I thought, he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "Oh, are you going to join the class?" I said, I don't think so." I said, "I'm already a lecturer, Anyway, he's great. And he's raised up, just chatting to him. Now, here's what happens. When they all went, I went into the office, and I was just sitting there. And the next was, he said, "Thanks a lot." And there was the caretaker was a fella, and he's no longer with us now, named Jimmy Parry. This is genuine, this. And Jimmy come in, and he said, "There's no bulbs for tonight." Because he was having his first class tonight. He didn't get up till like something. He said, "No." So anyway, he shoots over to his own house. He takes all the bulbs out of every room, and he has a couple of spare ones, in case you always have a spare bulb, but he has a couple, and he brought them over, and he put them in, the classrooms. So that was one incident. This is the same day. Then the next was just having a cup of tea. And he gets a phone call, and I was off. The first class was a local history class, right? Yeah. Now you're going back to 1990, like 1990. So anyway, he's sitting there, and he put the phone down, and his face, was like. I said, "What's up? You're all right?" And he said, "That's the local history teacher. She's not coming in because she doesn't want to come into town." I said, "Why?" She said, "Because you're not going to believe this." She said, my car might get smashed into because it's in the inner city." So anyway, he looked. Imagine what I said. So anyway, he said to me, he said, do you know any local history? I said, no. I said, no, I don't. And I said, I tell you what, I said, what I do know, because I didn't want to let him down, and I was from 7 to 9. And he said, you know what? He said, it's chock-a-block. Everyone wants to know about local history. And I said, I tell you what, I said, I know about a few VCs and the Liverpool Pals. That's all I know. I said, and a couple of other things, like St. George's Hall and the town hall. That's all I know. And he went, will you do it for me? Will you come in, please? And I went, yeah, all right. I didn't want to let him down. So I just thought that it was that. And I was so successful, the thing. And he said, oh, this is great. Will you be back next week? And I said, I'm sorry, I don't think so. Because I thought he'd get another local history teacher, you see. So anyway, I said, good luck with your new teacher. I said, she'll be in or he'll be in, no matter what. So anyway, he gave me a ring on the Wednesday. He said, they all want you back. He said, so you'll have to. So what I started doing,
brilliant,
they had to look up at things, haven't they, and that's how it started with that.
Fantastic.
So it was just, yeah.
Well,
and that was the start of it.
Life does send us on different journeys, doesn't it?
Yeah, on different paths. You go down one, which is a good one. So, I was lecturing in about the Roman Empire, and especially Roman Britain, what happens in Britain when they came over in 42 AD, so it was good. It was good. The local history side of it. So I used to go in a couple of times a week to different colleges. And I was in St. George's Hall, and they were having like an exhibition of local history stuff. So anyway, I goes down, and it's as though you're interviewing me. I'm sorry about this. So I goes down, and I have a big picture. I'll show you that sometime. I'll show you. You've got to see this. If you ever come out again, I'll bring it with me. Make sure that you see this. It's a big one.
Yeah.
And that's it. It was how it was done. It was done by a Frenchman, and he went up in a balloon in 1886, and he sketched Liverpool. You'd be made up with it. He sketched Liverpool. How it was and where the building was, and absolutely brilliant. So anyway, I had that up, and people were looking at it, and they go, what's that there? So I was telling them, and they go, go away. So, and what has happened was, there was someone from Radio Merseyside there, and he said, listen, can I have a word with you? I said, yes, sure. He said, we've been looking at you there, and, these people, and it was fascinating. So anyway, I never heard from them. And they got me a phone number of someone, and it was to go on the Tony Snell show. So I went on there because he had different people on, each week. And all of a sudden, he phoned me up and he said, listen, they're amazed up with what you're doing and, all about the local stuff. He said, will you come in each week? So I went in with him for 7 years.
Wow. I think that's when we first heard you on Tony's show. Well, it was actually my mum, God bless her, who said, oh, there's a guy that you really, really, really gotta hear. So Lainey and I tuned in wherever we were, and there you were, and little did we know that a few years later we'd be sharing a bottle of whiskey and.
Yeah. Do you remember that? She said to me, you went that day you was going to do me portraits, and you said, would you like a drink? And I said, yeah. I was time for a cup of tea. I thought you was going to bring a cup of tea when you brought scotch. It's a wonder, you don't see the portraits of me, like, you know what I mean? Absolutely brilliant. It was such a joy. It was such a joy that. And I met Drew then. That's the first time I met Drew Schofield.
Yeah,
And he turned out to be a good friend. You obviously.
he's a solid. He's
I love
a
him.
diamond on a sea of cook class. He's a
Yeah.
diamond.
I reckon
Yeah.
he's the best actor in Liverpool at the moment. I really do. Simply because I know he could have gone to London, and all this, but he wanted to stay, didn't he? He wanted to stay here. And he does all the plays. And do you know what gets me about him? He can play any part, yet you don't typecast him with any other part. That's how good he is. That's how good he is.
He is brilliant. For me, the biggest education with him was to sit with him, just to sit with him, whether it would be in the pub or a cafe, or
Yeah.
at a family do, and he would describe an incident, and he would do all the voices.
Yeah.
He could literally do a radio play and do every voice. And you'd think of the cast of like 25, 30 people. It's just...
And he can play every instrument as well, can't he? Because you love music, and he can
it's
play every instrument.
The families, the Schofields, are a wonderfully talented, very, very musical family.
Yeah.
I mentioned to you before in a short one about my ideas where I'm going work-wise, and I mentioned a guy called Stevie Ray Vaughan. And if anyone out there likes blues music, rhythm and blues music, check him out. He's gone now. He died in a helicopter crash in 1990. But there's a link to our Drew in it. Now, Drew's brother, Glenn, is a phenomenal drummer.
Yeah.
And he took a bit of Liverpool when he went to live in Texas. Went over to live in Texas. And while he was there, he got a job as the drum roadie for Stevie Ray Vaughan's band, which were not that big in Britain at the time in the early 80s. They became big because Stevie Ray Vaughan played on a couple of tracks by David Bowie, Let's Dance and stuff like that. And then they got bigger. But Glenn had got me some of his stuff, his clothing, his plectrums, his gear, and told me some wonderful stories. But that's a link. The Schofields are the most magical, beautiful musical family.
And you know what? It's like, I'm sorry, it's like Drew himself. He's such a lovely, humble person, isn't he?
Yeah. Just solid gold, Frank.
Yeah. Everyone loves him, and everyone, wherever he's acting on the stage, they're all there, aren't they? Everyone, because they're Schofield.
And what's helped me out over the years, when you're doing stuff and you think, I'm not sure if I want to put that up, I'm not sure what I want to do with it. I talked to Drew, and Drew would say, be careful of that group of people. They over there are great. Put it out through them. And it's like his judgment of character is just spot on. Oh, it has been for many, 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 many years. He's bang on. I can be accused of being a flake sometimes, and I'm not sure where I'm going. He always knows. He always knows.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of great talented people. I know great talented people. You know that, and I know you. You're a great fella. John McCardle last week as well. What a man! You know,
John,
really
yeah,
lovely fella. Drew Schofield, really
wonderful.
lovely. They're all good.
Yeah, very, very humble,
Very
wonderful man.
humble. Very humble. Very humble. And as John said last week, he said, you know, we mentioned Billy Corkhill. He said, yeah, he said, when we stopped playing it, he said, I was up in Scotland, he said, in the islands somewhere, and the fella was like, all right, Billy, how are you?
But you get a bit of that as well with Scully, which hasn't been seen for ages, but you know, it's kind of that. And but there's a warmness. I know through listening to John talk to yourself, there's a warmness with John about the characters he
Yes.
played, other than the New Zealand Bobby, which is a bit of an evil character to play. But
Yeah.
I mean, that again is a great sign of a very, very, very good actor,
Yeah.
that he can don this cloak of evilness to portray someone that we wouldn't even want to be in the same room as.
Yeah.
And then to do it so convincingly, and it's like, whoa, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? They're just wonderful people, but brilliant actors. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why the pair is you and John McCardle, because it'll be a. Do you know I'd love on the show one night if he's free?
Yeah.
Drew Schofield. I'd love him to come on. You know, to talk about his career and how he got started. And,
I will
brilliant.
bounce the show to him, and you've asked him yourself there.
Yeah, we've got someone earlier. Look at this one. Look at this one. Hang on a minute. Just hang on a sec. Have a look at this. Zoe Vasilenko. Buenas tardes a todas.
Good evening, Zoe.
How about that? Zoe Vasilenko. How about that? That's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you know, so it's hello, Zoe. I hope you're well. I really do. Vasilenko. What a name. What a name.
There was one that popped up before Zoe, which I think was Sean. Was it Sean? And he was saying, evening, chaps. Yeah. Evening.
Shane McGowan.
Shane McGowan. Evening, Shane.
Isn't that lovely?
Yeah.
The pints each for us.
Pints each. Yeah. That's all right.
Isn't that lovely? And Lynn Ellis says, you know what we were talking about, but you know that would be brilliant, Frank. You know, you and John together.
Yeah, it would be magical. I mean, I will never speak for someone else in terms of what they want to do, and I certainly wouldn't for Drew. But I know that he doesn't do it much, or he hasn't done.
I know. No, that's why I said I'd love him on. You know, because I know that he doesn't do interviews.
I would love to listen to him. I told you the story about when we first spent time. His relation to Laney's, the same family, and Laney had invited him to.
Excuse me, I've got to say who Laney is. You know, to the views. Laney's Anthony's wife, by the way.
Lorraine, yeah. But Laney.
We call her Laney, don't we?
We call her Laney. We're amongst friends. And he came along and he took some photos for me, and we immediately got on, like you and I when we first met. There's no ifs, buts, and maybes. I generally think, and I'm not being an old romantic about it, I think it's a genuine Scouse way.
Yeah, of course it is.
We generally get on with everything unless they prove us wrong, and we think, right, I'll take a few back steps. But we our arms are open to the world. It's wonderful.
Oh, of course. Well, funny enough, I was watching. I watched some podcasts. Americans. About certain things. Political things and whatever. Um, I put up and I paused the thing and I took a picture of it and I've got it on my phone. And what I said, has anybody been to Liverpool? If you haven't, you're missing out on the most friendliest city on the planet. And we've been voted the friendliest city. So I took a photograph, I've got it on my phone, then carries on. But he put us up. The way I put things up, like Lynn Ennis, and whatever, and Shane McGowan and Zoe Vasilenko. There's things like that, I just put up. But this fella, this American, he doesn't put all of them up. It's just chosen, but it's chosen by his moderator as well. So he must turn the year, and he must have putting this up, anyway, put us up, and it was really good, made up with that. So that's how I get our things over. That's how I get our things over. About Liverpool, that.
Yeah, well, it's a strange one, really, because we the old saying is, and one day we'll have a chat about old sayings, but this one is, don't blow our own trumpet enough.
No.
Outside of our environment. We're talking about Liverpool now because we have a passion for it, and I know a lot of you listeners, you viewers, have that same passion wherever they live in the world, which is wonderful. But we don't wave a flag all the time when we're out, and it takes someone to say, "Where are you from? Where's that accent from?" And then you say Liverpool, and then there's like a split second thing, and you might say the Beatles, Liverpool, and you say, yeah, that's
right.
And then Lainey and I went to Paris for their 40th, right? And we were, as now, EasyJet at French air traffic control had cancelled the flight for the first night. We're going over there to see James Taylor because he hadn't been to Liverpool yet. So we get to Paris and we're flustered because the first night we've missed were like 4 hours from gig time, and we get off at the most impossible time, rush hour, and we're walking through all these thousands of people. We're thinking, oh my God, we've got to ask someone where the hotel is. And we walk past a little restaurant, and there's a guy outside. And I said, excuse me, do you know where this hotel is? And he said, where are you from? And I said, Liverpool. He said, oh, Mr. Keegan. Oh, fantastic. He said that. In the middle of Paris, it's 1,000 people coming out the station.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? The way it's like a fella. He sent me a message, and he said, I looked you up. He said, and I seen some. This fella is in. I forget where he is, but where is he? Anyway, he said, I don't know whether he's in America or Australia. I'm not quite so sure. And he said, I've seen your videos, he said, about my city, my home city, and I'll never get to see it again. He said, and it brought a tear to my eye. He said, thank you so much for making these films and certain things. And I said to him, I said, look, I do a show. I said, I'm doing one tonight, and I just messaged him because I got a message through today, that message. Yeah. So I said, so he might be listening in or tuning in,
Yes, and I really enjoy it. But that's the thing that you do through what you do is you connect people. And like we said before, we're talking about there's a genuine sense of giving in Liverpool Scouts people, and that connects over the air as well.
Yeah,
So, and I've seen the comments that come through, and obviously I've witnessed the other programs, the LFC programs, and everything. And it's a global message, really,
yeah,
and obviously, again, the biggest instigators of this global message are the Beatles, and they go somewhere and they say, you know, back home, and back home we did this and we did that and we did the other, and it's somewhere special, and we do the same. True, I know it's the same.
absolutely, absolutely. I've got to mention my sponsors. I have to mention them, and my sponsors. They're a brilliant bunch of lads, and the fella who sponsored me is a diamond. He's a diamond, and I'm going to tell you what he does as well. And you'd be made up at this. Anyway, it's Gap Painting Services, ladies and gentlemen. Gap Painting Services, and the commercial and domestic. And if you're an NHS worker or an OAP, you get a super discount. You really do. And this is what kind of a firm these are: NHS, OAP. Think about that. Just think about that. And these lads are all fully time served painters and decorators. They're fully insured. They're clean, tidy, and everything. And I'm not just saying that because of they sponsor the show. They're a delight to work. And you know what, Anthony? You know what you said about how Liverpool people are, and they can talk to you. There's no person, there's no scouser. If you ask them something, they answer you, or she'd answer you. And there's no like down south, for example, they just walk past you, to be honest. Excuse me. So that's me, Gap Painting Services. And if you want to even have a chat while they're working, there you go. There you go. And I'd just like to thank them. What else I want to do, Anthony, is this. I want to show our people this. And there it is. Look at that. And there's Drew. There's Drew there. I'm pleased. I'm pleased. Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
I've got such a funny story about that photo of Alan.
Yeah.
I wanted Alan to be part of the show. And as we asked himself, Alan's notoriously shy.
Yeah, I know, believe so.
He said, I bring him in, and you ask him yourself, I bring him in. We were in the Hanover Gallery where we first met, and we sank that cup of tea and a bottle of whiskey. But, so Alan got himself in a bit of a state about coming in, about the idea or concept of me taking photos of him.
Yeah.
So we come in, and he said, all right, Tony, it's a pleasure to meet you. Bam, bam, bam. He said, listen, I was out with the family last night. I had a skinful. I'm feeling rough as heck today. So you're not taking photos, are you? And I'm like that. No.
No, not yet.
And I took about Drew's laughing his head off somewhere.
Yeah.
I took about 14 shots of him. And that shot that I did a painting from was one of the last two, because he kind of relaxed at that time, and he wasn't fazed by me snapping. And it's one of them has been used in his publicity work ever since, and I'm so delighted that it has. But such a lovely, absolutely blindingly lovely gentleman.
Yeah.
Really, really was. And it's a pleasure to know him. And he's been there for us, as a Drew many times, and as a view. most of the heads of been there, whatever we ask them. If I ever needed a quote, because bearing in mind, it was a long time that no one knew us outside of Liverpool and stuff, and it's a strange thing, but everyone knows Alan, everyone knows Drew, and so websites and stuff would pop up, and someone would say, "You need a quote," and then we'd phone or we'd meet Alan and say, "Could you kindly write a few words?" And he would all the time, would constantly. It's just a lovely soul, lovely, gentle soul, gentleman.
Yeah. It's unbelievable, isn't it? You know, that we meet these people, and as you said, I was told that he's a very shy person, and I was told that. Someone came up to me. Honestly, I was with Willie Miller and Sean Stiles, and I was in the. It's not down now. It was on the Strand, a pub. I forget the name of it. Anyway, I was in there with them two, and this fella came over, a little muscly fella, and he grabbed hold of me, and he went, "I love you." And I'm like that, standing there, I'm going, "Oh yeah," and he had hold of me tight, and he said, "And you're gonna do Boys from the Black Stuff, can you?" You know, and I went, and I was, but he was a little muscly fella, and there's no way I was going to turn around and say, "No, I'm not going to do it." Honestly, so I just left it. I thought he'd come over to hug me. He'd taken me for it. It's mad. It's just mad. Willie Miller and Sean Stars were laughing their heads off. I said, "I'm not going to argue with it because he was a little muscly fella, you know." I'm not going to say that I'm not him or whatever. You know, and we mentioned that when they used to be together on a Sunday show, you know.
Really that was a cracking show.
Yeah, really nice. Willie and Sean together. I'm going to show more of their pictures here.
Well, we'll have to put you up with. Well, there's a couple of geniuses there, King Kenny and Leonard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Peter Moore. That was one of the last commissions I did. Kind of just coming out of COVID. And there's a wonderful organization called the New York Copites.
Right.
And they're based in Gallagher's Bar in New York City. And I would strongly recommend any Liverpool fan who going to New York or lives in New York to visit this bar, because they are fanatical Liverpool, really wonderful bunch of guys. And they commissioned me to do a few paintings. One of them was Jürgen, one of them was Jamie Carragher, and one was Peter Moore when Peter was leaving the club. And so I did it. Peter had no idea that I was doing it, but his daughter did, his daughter Tony. I'm working with the lads from New York and his daughter Tony. They furnished me with some of the stuff that went in his portrait. And when the portrait was finished, like I say, it was we're kind of technically still in lockdown. So I've not got to meet Peter. But one of the New York guys, who's a Liverpool guy, lives over there now, came, picked the portrait up. We took some photos, and he took it over that afternoon. And I said, "Do us a favor, if Peter likes it, will you take a photograph of him with it, if he doesn't mind?" Because some people don't like that. Some people don't want that association. So he did, and Peter sent me the most wonderful photograph. I don't know if I sent it to Jason or whatever, but he's basically standing on the easel, and the portrait's there. I was chuffed to bits. It was just great.
Do you know what I remember you doing? And I can just say, besides Lady and the family and Marilyn and Lennon, Wilfred Owen. Wilfred Owen was one of the great
that was such a poignant thing to work on.
Yeah,
Because
I recite some of his poetry actually,
well,
because
I
go on.
love listening to you talk about Wilfred. In
Mm.
fact, I sent a couple of hours ago. I sent you 2 photos to you. You might not
I
have got
know I can't load them up for some reason.
okay. Well,
I can't load
what
them
they
up.
basically were that one of your um, one of your tours, one of your magical tours, and it started out at Liverpool Town Hall,
Yeah,
and Lainey and I met you there,
yeah,
and there
that's
was
right.
about 8 or 10 people with
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
and we went into that particular room where I took the photographs, which is like the memorial room.
Yeah, yeah. It's a more or less a memorial room
Yeah,
to the soldiers, Liverpool soldiers that had lost their lives.
and you quoted Wilfred then,
Yeah,
and years later when I got the opportunity to paint him, which was for the specific reason in that I like to think that um, anything I do is it's for me because I want to do it, but it's specific. I don't necessarily paint pictures to match someone's curtains or whatever that stuff. I like it. There we go.
did you take that picture?
I took that. Yeah, I took a few. That's like Saint Francis of Liverpool. Just
Oh,
uh, you were halfway through. You just made an introduction. So I sunk back. Me and Laney had sunk back with the gang who were on the tour, and it was wonderful just to blend in with them all. And you just said, "Ladies and gentlemen, this special room," and
yeah.
you went
All the
and
remembrance, it's called. All the
I
remembrance.
I'm sure you then delivered a line or two of Wilfred,
Yeah,
and I painted Wilfred for as the figurehead of an exhibition I was doing. We were doing, Laney. When I say I mean the two of us. You know how closely we work on it in honor of our soldiers, our armed forces, living and deceased. And at the time we started it, they were in Afghanistan, and our nephew was over there. He was in a regiment that went over there first, and he said to us when we got a chance to speak when he was home on leave that what was breaking the soldiers' hearts were when they were over there and they could find these rare copies of English papers, magazines. The press weren't kind of saying, "Look after yourselves, lads, we're thinking of you." They were basically filling their column inches with things like another 16 dead, another 60 dead there, another 60. So the lads who were only younger, I mean, Stephen was in his 20s, were thinking very much of being forgotten,
yeah.
which I'm sure is true of every war.
Of course it is. Of
Yeah,
course it is. I remember the Iraqi war, and there was lads. One of them was 7, a little Brit, and there was about 10 of them, 12 of them inside this armored vehicle. But the armored vehicle was an ambulance, and it had a big cross
yeah,
on it, a red cross, meaning it's medical. And
yeah,
you even if you're the worst enemy, you're not supposed to fire on them. And
yeah,
yet there was an American seeing it, just seeing it. And he went down and just blew it to smithereens.
Oh,
And what Bush said, W. Bush, he turned around and said, it's friendly fire. Yet those, I think that the families of them was suing the American government actually
my
for
God.
their so-called friendly fire, And it's shocking. And there's Wilfred's own there.
Sick. So we felt absolutely powerless. Other than I said, we're going to do an exhibition of 100 head kind of things. Wilfred Owen came to mind because there are many war poets, but for me, he was the first that came to mind. And his words still echo today the way they did 100 years ago. And we wanted to we talked to Jimmy McGovern. We brought Jimmy in. Jimmy was going to write a script. He was going to write things. We were going to have a almost an interactive thing to put people right about. A soldier never picks a war. A soldier never says, right, we're going to go and have a war. A politician picks the fight, right, for whatever reason. And the reasons are often dubious. But soldiers, they serve their country. They go, and tragically we lose many, and thankfully we salvage the ones that come home.
Well, this is the point, Anthony. This is the point. Now, Wilfred Owen, I don't know whether you're aware of this. Wilfred Owen's poems were not published until 1930 because it showed the horrors of war.
And
it's not like Rupert Brooks, if I should die, think only this of me, that there's a foreign field that is forever England. That's all patriotic stuff. But he wrote poem, what passing bells for these who die as cattle. Meaning, we're being sent to the front, the bells are ringing, and they're going to be, in other words, they're going to a slaughterhouse. Then he's got another one where he says, bent double like old beggars under sacks, knock-kneed coughing like hags we gaze through sludge. They're in ranks, bent double like old beggars, that they were in ranks, in the trenches. And it's shocking. This is what you don't see. And, this is what kind of poetry this man wrote.
Almost journalism, Frank. Almost journalism. He was cataloguing what was going on around him.
Of course it is. It's shocking. Well, listen, what I'm going to do, if you don't mind, I'm just going to say, I know Dave. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to go and do a little clip. And then we'll see you after the clip and we'll talk some more. Is that okay?
That's fantastic, Frank. Yeah.
In the 19th century, Liverpool had the vision that was the envy of the world. Many firsts were copied and the overhead railway was no exception. In 1888, an improved plan by businessmen who formed Liverpool Overhead Railway Company had given the go-ahead. Sir Douglas Fox and James Greathead were commissioned to design an elevated railway. After long last, it was finally accepted and the work commenced in 1889. There were problems at first. Fox and Greathead had a dilemma. What was the safest power to use? They considered steam too dangerous because of the many flammable cargoes within the range of the train sparks that could easily ignite these dangerous cargoes, causing a major catastrophe to shipping and the public. The only other option to pursue in 1891 was the new electric traction. Electricity was carefully chosen because of the enormous advantages: economy, speed, cleanliness and quiet running. Work was completed in January 1893 and finally opened on February the 4th by the Marquess of Salisbury. The public transport section did not have long to wait. It commenced on the 6th of March 1893. The world's first electric railway had automatic electric signals and a line from Herculaneum Dock to Seaford Carriage Shed. It had 11 stations at the beginning: Brocklebank, Canada, Sandon, Clarence, Princes, Pierhead, James Street, Custom House, Wapping, Brunswick and Toxteth. An electric escalator, the first of its kind, the Reno staircase, was installed at Seaford Sands in 1901. It was removed in 1906 because there were too many insurance claims by passengers against the railway. Clothing, especially women's long outfits, were continually getting caught and people falling over themselves as it moved and stopping suddenly. During the 1941 May Blitz, parts of the overhead railway were bombed and quickly repaired. However, the Second World War, through wear and tear and the bombing, deck plate supports for sections of the track were needed to be replaced, but at a costly price of £2 million. The company who ran the railway could not afford the price, and they proceeded to ask the council and the Mersey Docks and Harbour Board for help. They were refused, and with no help forthcoming, the rigorous public protest, the overhead railway, the first of its kind anywhere in the world, closed. The last train ran on December the 30th, 1956. There were many protests and attempts to save the overhead railway. Unfortunately, the protests fell on deaf ears. The only decision made by the people in power was to demolish it, and demolish it they did, leaving an enormous void in Liverpool's great heritage. There are few remnants left of the old overhead railway, and this one at Brunswick Dock. You can see the stairwell leading up to the station itself. And up here we have a tunnel that led to Dingle, because engineers had to bore through sheer sandstone for half a mile of tunnel to get to Dingle in an extraordinary feat of the 19th century. The Liverpool Overhead Railway, which is much missed, is a real Liverpool unequalled.
Here, during the new construction down at the Albert Dock, what you can actually see behind me is a building, the new Park 1 West building, that's shaped like the bow of a ship, and it just coincides with the Albert Dock, which was the very first enclosed dock in the entire world, built in 1846 by Jesse Hartley. It's absolutely wonderful, and it's Grade 1 listed. Why it was cutting edge at the time in 1846, before the Albert Dock was built, there was lots and lots of pilfery going on. Goods were going, businessmen, merchants were getting absolutely fed up. And Jesse Hartley, the docks engineer, came up with a brainchild to build an enclosed dock. And this is what you see today, the very first enclosed dock system in the entire world. And it opened in 1846 by Queen Victoria's husband, Prince Albert, hence the name Albert Dock. As you can see, people are just sitting down on a lovely day drinking coffee.
But if you go back to the 1850s, the actual coffee beans in big sacks were being unloaded by the dockers. But unfortunately, there's no more dockers now. But they've been replaced by the tourists sitting down drinking the coffee. So therefore, it's come in a big full circle. Besides the coffee, what was coming into Liverpool, into the Albert Dock, was sugar, cotton, exotic fruits, spices from all around the world. And yet, Jesse Hartley said, we cannot afford for these to be pilfered. And he built the dock. And there was only one way in with the ships and one way out. No pilfering. And that's why the rest of the world copied this magnificent building. During the decline of the dock system, this became no exception, the Albert Dock, because it just went and fell into dereliction. And the dock itself, the water side of it, just silted up. And it wasn't until 1983 and the foresight of Michael Heseltine, the Minister of Merseyside then, he foreseen a great future for this dock. And today, modern times, it's become one of Liverpool's jewels in the crown for tourism.
What do you think of that?
Wonderful. I love that, Frank. And the greatest legacy for Jesse Hartley is that the dock is one of the most popular places in Liverpool. You know,
Absolutely. Do you know what? Sorry.
With the arena and everything else down there. It's magic, and I don't think he could have envisaged how magical a place it would be. It's like a second life. Well, it is a second life. But my grandparents and my family were dockers and sailors, so they kind of grew up in that history of using the dock as its original docks, unloading and sailing and stuff. And we heard the stories when we would grow up. But I remember it opening up in the 80s, and it was like, wow. It's just wow. And the buildings are still structurally solid, absolutely solid. And I can't think of a property developer in the world who would build buildings the way that they were built.
No. Do you know what? I'll say a couple of things about this, aren't we? Right. We were about to demolish it. You know, the city council don't have a clue. You know, who was it I said it to? I forget who was. Steve Rotherham, I think. I said, what we need in this city is the councillors to go on a course of local history to find out, you know, how significant these buildings are. Well, anyway, nothing came of it. But the thing is, Michael Heseltine, as you know, it was a managed decline by you know, Thatcher and the Geoffrey Howe.
Yeah.
He walked out of a meeting because Westland Aviation Company, that was sold to the Americans. That was sold to the Americans under the nose of Michael Heseltine. So he walked out, so they demoted him to of Merseyside, and he thought that he wouldn't do anything. In fact, his political career would go down the drain. Now, what he went down and he seen the Albert Hall. He was walking around, just walking around, Liverpool, see what it was like. And he went down to the Albert Hall and he saved it. He said, "Do you realise what this is? Do you realise what this is?" And he went, "Well, it's being well." He said, "No, it's not." And that's his legacy.
My God.
Michael Hazeltine is the only Tory I've ever admired, to be honest. And he loves Liverpool. He really loves Liverpool. He genuinely loves Liverpool.
He promoted the what we term the Garden Festival as well, didn't he? The whole aspect of life along the waterfront.
Yeah.
And as we knew it in the 80s, and obviously some of it continued to grow, some of it declined, and sometimes we're our own worst enemy.
Of course we are. Of course we are. Do you know, I'll tell you something. They wanted to knock down the Lyceum.
Yeah.
They wanted to knock down the Collegiate up in Shore Street. They wanted to knock that down. They didn't know the significance of these two fine buildings, right? And they also wanted to knock down the White Mansion House in Calderstones Park. I have my penn'orth about the three of them. Threw everything into that because I was lecturing up in Hope University when they wanted to knock the Collegiate down. Anyway, what had happened was with the Mansion House, I said, "Does anybody have any idea the history behind this?" And no, they never knew it. And what it was the ancestral home of Spencer Perceval, Sir Spencer Perceval from Liverpool, who was the Prime Minister, right? And he's the only British Prime Minister to be assassinated on May the 11th, 1812, in Bellingham from Duke Street. And, they wanted to knock it down, but they've done it up now anyway, and it looks superb. And the Collegiate looks great as well. Now, don't forget as well what they wanted to knock down. And this will surprise you. This will surprise you. I'm going to show it. I'm going to show this. Right? Just bear with me. Just bear with me. Okay? Right? Didn't know they were on. Look at that. Me and Kinsley, absolutely brilliant. There's me. Billy. Oh, fantastic. I didn't know they were on. I really didn't. Billy Kinsley. I'm going to show you. What they want to knock down. Oh, there's you, look. I've got to show this. Look at that. There's you. I went to, do you know you and Mike McCartney? You know where he's pointing? Yeah. No, I got the shock of my life that night because I went so he was giving a talk and that, wasn't he? And I went up. I was invited along, so I was there, listening. And then all of a sudden, I seen you and your little band, and I didn't even know that you had a band. And absolutely brilliant.
Oh, at that gig, yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic! But look at that drawing of the. Is that a blues singer there?
Yes, there's a couple. The one on the very end, is a guy called Charlie Christian, who is the first in the series I was telling you about the John Hammond thing. Next to him is a guy called Elmore James,
right?
Which I painted when Lainey and I lived in a 2-bedroom flat with household gloss paint because I couldn't afford oils. So it's like painted on the back of a piece of hardboard. But I love it, so I've kept it with me all these
Oh,
years.
that's lovely.
And,
Absolutely brilliant.
and then
Absolutely. But I want to. I've got to show more. I'm sorry. Go on. Would you want to finish off?
the McCartney one on the top, again, the same thing, is painted on hardboard with match pots.
Paul McCartney.
Yeah,
Go
it's
away.
an early Beatle one.
Go away.
And that was painted in the early 90s, 92, 93,
Wow.
whatever. And then Mike, obviously, those two photos were taken on Mike's night at the cathedral, and he asked me to come along and sing a song, which was the Fats Waller song, Your Feet's Too Big. And I kind of learned it, but then bottled it, because I said to Mike, can I bring me two bandmates along, pad out, and he said, of course. And there was not enough time for the three of us to learn the song.
Yeah, yes, really.
Do something different.
Do you know what, though? As I said, it shocked me that night. All of a sudden, there's something brown with a little bands, and you were good. I'm not just saying that, by the way. You might think I am, and I bet our viewers think I am as well. And look at that. I loved that. And I always remember when you invited me along to give a little talk at St. George's Hall with the, very same like images of the waterfront.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. But, kids on.
They were inspired by the kids when they were any child.
Yeah.
The beauty of watching a child draw is that they have no conception of what's right and wrong. Do I put that there? Do I put that? It's magic. And you watch them, you give them a box of crayons and they'll do something and you'll say, what's that? And they'll say, it's a car.
Yeah.
As if you're missing the point. So I totally get that. And there's a line from Picasso, which I love, one of my favorite lines. Every child is born an artist. The problem is in life is how to remain an artist when we grow up. And he always felt that the childlike approach to drawing is the way forward, because you're not preoccupied by someone else's expectations of what you should or should not do. And I love that. And that's kind of the way I've been. And then there's King of Mirth in Liverpool, Doddy himself.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Is that Willie Nelson at the top there?
Willie Nelson, yeah. I drew. There's a friend of ours who now lives in Nashville, and we'd loosely talked about doing something over there, work-wise. And the thing with these drawings is that they will adapt and they'll blow up to almost a mile square, and they don't use anything.
No.
We did a series of them for there's a wonderful place on Great Ormond Street called the NSPCC Safeties, and it's basically it was built fundraising. John Hargreaves from Matalan and Hugh and Kathy Frost from Beetham, people like that would put money, and it's a centre for abused children or battered wives.
Yeah,
and, it's a fairly it's a fairly bland in that it's a white cylindrical building. It's wonderful, but I was asked to draw children in that style, so that when children came into the centre, there'd be something on the walls to connect them to almost real life, and they have a multi-use thing in that children identify them, but so do we adults, well, certainly the child part of us. Mike McCartney calls them, you doing any more of them kiddie drawings you do? I said, yeah, proudly kiddie.
Yeah. Do you know what though? I'm going to go through a few more. I've got to. I'm going to go through a few more, and I still haven't forgot what. This is your lovely family, isn't it? Brilliant. And even a portrait, a self-portrait.
Self-portrait was painted many years ago. Lainey didn't like it because she said, you look sick. I said, I'm into peaking my health. I don't. He said, oh, you look unwell. But it's a hard one when you're drawing yourself because it's like you're focused, so you can't hide the frowns. Next to that is me beautiful dad.
Yeah.
Below that, obviously the Fabs. I worked for a while for the Beatles story.
Yeah.
My background is also as a graphic designer, and I worked for them in designing various bits of merchandise and signage and stuff like that. And that was drawn, watercolor was produced for them, but they didn't use. And it stayed with me for years, like 20 years. And it went to every studio we had. And we're at the Albert Dock where you and Billy were. And there's a wonderful lady who was a teacher. And she came in and she said to me one day, I love a lot of your work. Said, some of it I don't understand, but I would really like to buy one. And she wasn't a wealthy woman. And there weren't massive price tags on everything, but some things were dearer than others. Yeah. So I think I let that go to her for the price she wanted to pay, which is a rare gift when you work for yourself. We're artists. Lainey and I kind of play Robin Hood sometimes.
Yeah.
You know.
Give to the poor and all that. So she must have turned around at me and said to you, I can only afford this amount. And you've said, okay, you can have it. That's fantastic. It really is. I'm not gonna say that middle one. I'm not gonna say where it is, and I want people to tell me on the air now. Like where that is. And it's I don't want anyone to I'm not going to tell you where it is, and I want you to tell me where that beautiful drawing is or what it is of. Okay, and I'm going to do a couple more.
I think you should let people tell you where it is. I'll tell you that my background is my family and Lainey's family came from Scotland Road.
Yeah.
And I did an exhibition in the late 90s to 2001 called From Scotland Road to Here.
Yeah.
And it was landmarks of, there are places I remember, some have gone and some have changed. Yeah. It was that, and that's where that drawing came from.
Yeah, that does. It's like that Beatles thing, isn't it? There are places I remember. It's incredible. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go through these now. Just bear with me, right?
Yeah.
And I want people to tell me where this is. Try and get us on here. Let's see if we've got any. The first ones. Karen Karayaku says, I could listen to you forever. Got about that. God bless me. That's fantastic. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to see if where that is. No one's got it, and I'm going to tell you where it is. And I'll tell you later on. But I want you to tell me, where do you think this is?
This one?
Yeah. Not you. I want these to tell me. Karen Karayaku says this. Awesome drawings too. Love them. Yeah.
Thank you, Karen. Bless you.
That's it. Lee Brady says, I didn't know down in Speak there used to be a nation village there. I called it the Yonglet, but a lot of it, of the area, has probably fell into the beach river area. I can't find much on it, but really interesting, Frank. If you know anything about it, we'll have to switch my metal detector on down there. Bet I'd find loads of stuff for the museum, as there are still plenty of farmland. Yeah.
I know there's a website out there, a Facebook, a page called Save Oglet Shore.
Yeah.
And they've added me as a member. I don't know much about it, but if you search on Facebook, you'll find that that could be the information that Lee wants to take him somewhere else.
What do you think of that Charlie Wood's comment there when you were talking about kids? Children are artists until creativity is knocked out of them.
Totally agree, Charlie.
Isn't that just a brilliant comment?
The very thing that knocks our creativity out of us, and not just creativity, sometimes our sparks for all sorts of things, is education. Because for me, the biggest struggle is how do you teach art? Art is a personal perception on the world. So therefore, we should all be different in what we do. So if you go into a class of 32 or 132 and they all tell you how to hold your pencil, we're all going to draw the same. That's the way to kill creativity. But I totally agree with Charlie. Yeah.
It's good, isn't it? But that's short. When my daughter was a little girl, about 4 or 5, she said to me, Dad, I said, what? She said, can you draw me a monkey? I said, of course I can. And it ended up being a lion. I couldn't do the monkey. It was a lion. I said, lions are better than monkeys. And she wouldn't have it. Oh, that's shocking. Mark Kinnis says, Eldon Street, Frank, or another way, was Eldon Gardens.
Yeah.
And that one, no, hang on. And that one, Martin's Bank, this is like this one, says Lynn Ellis. Is it Eldon Grove, Frank? And you're spot on, it's Eldon Grove.
Yes.
Do you ever remember the football used to be played on there? Because that square actually played on there, like against different squares or streets or whatever. Especially the Holy Cross parish, he played, St. John's. Fantastic.
If you stand in the spot where I was when I started the drawing, there's a church on your left hand side, which is quite unusual. I think it's St. Mary's, I'm not sure, but it's almost cylindrical. It's a beautiful round church.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 2001 I did that drawing, so quite a few years ago.
Yeah. And Lynn Ellis actually says, what Charlie said? She said, true, Charlie. It's true that creativity does knock something. It's like anything else. Karen Kariaka. We don't do enough arts in school today. Our children can't even hold a paintbrush. It breaks my heart. Children have so many individual. My home has many copies of children's work. You can't beat it.
You can't beat it.
Isn't that lovely? Isn't that a fantastic comment as well?
Karen, I am inspired every day by watching my kids who are grown up a bit now, but kids in the family, the way they think and the way they draw. The education system, unfortunately, is geared to have us all streamlined to be the same. And we're not the same. We each have an individual voice. I was never a thick child, but I was not wanting to be a scientist or a mathematician or a teacher. I wanted to be a painter. And nowadays, children are not given the option to do something creative.
No. Do you know
Which
what?
is-
He said I didn't want to be a teacher. That is his eye. And he ended up being one.
Wow.
It's incredible, isn't it? Anyway, I'm going to go on. I'm going to do, you're going to love this, actually. Right, what that is, I don't think that people can see it, but it says Nobis, Deus Nobis Hec Otia Felice. Right, that's what it says. And do you know what the motto is? This is our motto. This is Liverpool motto, by the way. Do you know what it is? God has made us happy. What a fantastic motto we have. God has made us happy. Fantastic. You know, it says it's great. Right, so I'm going to tell you where this is, people. There it is.
I know that.
Now, remember when I said, just a little while back, that they wanted to knock a certain building down. That's the building they wanted to knock down. 1983-84. To put a car park in its place. St. George's Hall.
Oh my God.
There you go. There you go. Absolutely. Look at it. Look at it. Told you to surprise you, didn't I? I told you. And, you know, that's good. Like the theme of the floor represents England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales. You know, everything else.
The Celts.
Yeah.
Up the Celts.
I told you about Prince Charles, didn't I? Right. Now, you see where the it leads into the steps. And I was standing there with him, right? But like a week or two before, Frank Richardson, who was dead, a lovely fella, I love him, honestly. He was the manager of North of the Hall. And he said to me, Frank, he said, I know that you'll bring people in. And I went, yeah. And he said, whatever you do, please don't have them to go on the floor. I said, no chance. I said, no chance of them going on the floor, especially if they're with me. Because if you remember, they had this like gold standard things and red rope right around it. Yeah. So anyway, when I brought Charles around, where them doors are there and the steps, I said about, you know, the floor. I said I was inspired. I said, Sir Henry Lewis, you know, Sir Alfred Lewis, he got the inspiration because he was commissioned to do this floor off the town hall, right? And he went, oh yes. So anyway, what has happened? He went to step on the thing, and I was told, do not touch him, right? Do not touch, and whatever you do, don't swear. I said, I don't swear. But we had a smashing time. We were having a laugh as well. You know, he had a sense of humor. He's still got a sense of humor, I suppose. So anyway, we got there. And he went to step on it, and I grabbed him back. I said, you can't go on it, Frank Richardson said. And he looked at me. I just lost it, you know.
Well, there goes your knighthood.
That's it. Oh, gone. Yeah, that was the end. And anyway, I grabbed hold of him because there was fellas on this side, on the opposite side of the door. And they were like, no, you know, doing that. So we got him on in the middle and dragged him on the middle. I said, yeah, you can go on. And I lost all my composure and everything. And I just didn't know what to say. I forgot how to address him. So when I said, "Do you want to come and sing?" He said, "The situation's most intolerable. I cannot just do another cup of tea." So anyway, I said, "Well, I'm off. I'm off." I said, "I'm going for one. I'll see you soon." And walked away. And I didn't know what to say, so I turned around again. I said, "I'll see you again, eh, Prince." I got off. I don't know, but it was just hilarious. It's just hilarious, what this is. Anyway, it's brilliant.
There's an old expression, and I can't remember it, but basically it's something like "beware of artists," because they can entwine in all walks of life. So it's one of those that and Lenny and I've had a little bit of that. Because of the 100 heads and the photo you kindly showed before, the canvases, Lenny and I were invited to when Charles opened the revamp of the hall, which is probably when you met him with the floor and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was a mind-blowing day. It was really, really, because you kind of see what we've got through the eyes of visitors, and obviously what Lainey and I have managed to experience with yourself is that very same feeling on a great many buildings. But St. George's Hall has got a rank up there with any of the finest buildings in Rome or across the world. It's just awe-inspiring.
Well, what it is, Andy, it's based on two ancient greats. Outside, the exterior is based on ancient Greece.
Yeah.
Right? Inside is based on Emperor Caracalla's steam baths in Rome. I've been to the Thermae there, in Rome, but it's a ruin. It's a ruin, unfortunately. And just to look at that, and Harvey Lonsdale Elms, the architect of the hall, he wanted the two ancient greats, and that's what he's got.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate thing is he wanted to knock it down. You can't make these things up. And there's something. This is good. This income generators will be reinvested with donation in the hall, with donations also made towards the refurbishment of the Willis organ and Mary Seacole Statue Fund. Because Mary Seacole, don't forget that she was she wasn't from Liverpool, by the way. She wasn't from Liverpool. And she was a great woman for everything. She was in the Crimean War as a nurse and whatever, absolutely brilliant. And it's just nice to think that there's a statue being made, of Mary Cole. And she never gets mentioned. It's always Florence Nightingale who gets mentioned, It's always. I'm got nothing against Florence Nightingale, because she was absolutely brilliant anyway, in her own right. And it's just good that Mary Seacole is actually remembered and a statue to go in the hall, which is great. Now, here's the thing. It's opening up, the Mitten Child. On Monday to Sunday, 9:30 to 3:30, £5.50 per person, right? And it's 360-degree walk around the perimeter of the Minton floor. Also gives access to the education corner, encouraging families, schools, communities to spend some time soaking up the beauty and the history of the hall and get involved in some fun activities. And the Minton Tile experience. Do you know why they did a Minton Tile? Because they never had the experience, because the Italians weren't over yet. The terrazzo floor layers, the mosaic people.
Yeah.
and so they couldn't perfect the mosaic. So anyway, they brought in the Minton tiles, which is, again, it's beautiful. It's very expensive today, the Minton tile. Even if you've got a tile, it's very expensive. It's worth a few bob. So the Minton tile, this software, it's £15 guided tour. Well, I can give you the guided tour for nothing. This tour offers the public a fair opportunity to walk on the tiles themselves and take a closer look at the sea, nymphs, the dolphins, tridents, beautifully crafted into the Minton tiles' intricate design. On Thursday, this is a good one. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 5 to 7, £20, including a drink on arrival, a beautiful start in Liverpool as guests treat their eyes and ears to the sensory feast of live music and a glass of sparkling fizz whilst admiring the remarkable craftsmanship of the Minton tile design. And music on the Mintons, which is on Thursday, the 17th of August, 6 to 8, £20 per person. The incredibly talented Lee Ward. Now, Lee Ward is an organist. I think he's up in the Anglican Cathedral. Will be performing a selection of pieces that will highlight the unique tonal qualities of the acoustic Minton tiles. The powerful and ethereal sounds of the famous Henry Willis organ will resonate through the beautifully restored space and transport visitors through time. And that's right, because the Willis organ at the time was the biggest man-made organ in the world.
Yeah.
And I did a DVD, right, about all the hall and everything. We did outtakes on me trying to say about the Willis organ. It was so funny. It was so funny. I even laughed at it myself, And there it is. There's income generators will be reinvested in the hall with donations also made towards the refurbishment of the Willis organ, which is a must, and also Mary Seacole's statue fund. I think that's brilliant. I really do.
We had the pleasure of seeing it. The floor must be about 20 years ago. Can
I ask you?
Yeah.
Do you know when you went in and you'd never seen it before? What was your impression?
It was like being in the middle of an artwork.
Yeah.
When we were kids and we had a little thing called a kaleidoscope, like a telescope, and as you turned it, it would change pattern, colours and stuff like that. Just like walking into one of them, it was mind-blowing. We had my mum then. Sadly, we lost my mum since, and it impacted on all of us the same way. It was just beyond wow. It was just immersive, I guess you'd call it. Just being immersed in this beauty.
Yeah. Well, when I first seen it with Frank Richardson, by the way,
I
walked in, and we walked in from the north end, so he's walking up. And as I went in and I seen it for the first time, I was shocked at the beauty of it. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
And Frank looked at me, he said, "I've just seen the expression on your face." He said, "It's a shock, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "It's so beautiful." And that was my impression of it, first time seeing it.
Well, we hear the expression now when people refer to something and they say, "It's stunning." That's what it was. It was stunning. It was like stop in the tracks and just wow. It was absolutely I would look forward to seeing it again.
Of course, yeah. You know, I think it's a must. We've
Yeah,
got to. It's a must to see it again because you never know when you know we'll be seeing it again if you know what I mean. Now,
absolutely right. Yeah.
where's John McCardle? And he says, "Would you advertise that?" I said, "Yeah, sure." And it's how do you live with it, Freddie? Like that's a new film, and it's got a there's a charity screening short film, 40 minutes, shot on the Wirral and parts of Leeshow Castle. A chilling mystery with twists and turns to keep you guessing to the end. Starring Michael Joseph Carr, Courtney Cash, Benjamin Kinraid, Kristen Yap, and Zara Hadashin, and John McCardle. No,
Wonderful.
it is what it is. You get a red carpet reception, chat with the cast and crew afterwards. Buffet is included as well as a professional DJ. And it's on Friday, the 25th of August, 2023 at 7 o'clock. Leeshow Castle, Leeshow Road, Wirral. And there's the postcode. General admission is £15 available through Even Bright. A third of the ticket sales go to charity for the homeless on the Wirral and Merseyside. Isn't that brilliant?
That's brilliant. That is such a reasonable price to
Oh
cover.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I've just got to. You'll be made up with this one as well. I've got to show it. Got to remove this, and it's this, and it's being for the benefit of Mr. Tulloch. A
Yeah.
night of celebration on Sunday, the 6th, from 5 p.m. at the Live Lounge at the Yeah, this is all like 19th century stuff, if you know what I mean. The way they used to introduce things. The Live Lounge at the most esteemed cavern club of Liverpool. Led Z, the amazing Kappa bands. I know Paul, well, you know Paul as well. Red Rock, Greg Gavin, the Flaps, plus raffle auctions to squad. Admission £10 on the door. I think that's well worth it.
I think it's absolutely well worth it. I can tell you there's no waltzes going on that night. It's rocking.
Yeah, it
The
is.
house is rocking, don't bother knocking.
Yeah, isn't that
Yeah.
that's brilliant? That.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Led Z. How about that? And Led Z. That's just, it's great. Absolutely brilliant. And I'm just made up that Kappa's there. The amazing Kappa bands, because they're friends of mine. And also Let's Red Rock, the Squad, and Sliced Bread and the Flaps. They're just imagine that on that night. That'd be fantastic. It really will. It really will.
Nice.
And let's hope that people get along.
A tenner. That was just a tenner.
Yeah, a tenner. And Dave Hughes, he's a smashing fella, David. He put us up and he said, would you? I said, of course I will. I said, I've got the great Anthony Brown on. He said, send him my love. It's just nice, isn't it?
Full Thank you. I'm back, straight back.
Yeah, that's lovely. Marv Kinney says, Frank, you even played St. George's All organs, didn't you, on the DVD? You did. You did. You're brilliant, Sarah, Frank. Thanks very much.
I'll go for that.
And sounds brilliant, says Lynn Ellis. Too far for me to go, unfortunately. We'll wait till it comes to the cinema. That's John McCardle's Bill Stevenson. Good evening, Frank. Hope you keep him well. 2 big kisses for me. I am Lynn. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Which is good, you know. Frank, we saw a guy in St John's Gardens last Thursday who looked like Jeff Lynne. Do you know what? Well, I was bringing him in St John's Gardens, you know, the group that I took out, and there was a fella sitting there, and I looked, and I went, "God." So anyway, we seen the thing, and when we were coming back, now I said nothing to Mark Kinnish. So as we were walking back, he was just sitting there and he was reading. And I said, hello. And he went, hello. I said, do you know, I said to Mark, I said, do you know who we're reading behind me of? And he said, Jeff Lynne. I said, yeah. And he just looked. He said, do you think so? I said, yeah. Get the image. He was there. You know, a young Jeff Lynne?
Yeah.
He was so like him. He was so like him. Which, you know, it's surprising, you know.
No,
see, I get taken for Brad Pitt, you know, every day, but there you go.
Yeah. I got the same thing as Barney Rubble.
You know, honestly, you know, especially when I take group shows, and you know, I love the old ladies, you know, coming out because they all want to stay active, and I'm taking them around, and you want to see you want to hear what I say to them. And I went like that. I said, now listen, I'm not George Clooney. And they look at me and they go, we know. I said, oh, okay, as long as you know, because I didn't want to be giving out autographs because you take me to George Clooney. And one day it was windy outside and we were going into the town hall and it was, you know, gusty. So anyway, we all got into the town hall and there's what it's on. I went like that. I said, do you know what? I hate winds because it's always, you know, me wig, you know, it like, I go everywhere. And they looked at me and I went like that. I went, is that all right? And this little lady said, go over to your left a bit. So I went to my left. And she went, you've got it. It's just like that, Frank. I just left it at that, you know what I mean? And that's absolutely genuine. So, you know, you can have fun when you're having fun, Anthony. You can have fun.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
It's absolutely brilliant. Absolutely. So one day, I'm going to get hold of John. I'll make a date for the pair of you to be on. But what I'd love you to do, if you don't mind, Anthony, please, 2 weeks tonight, would you come on again?
I would be honest.
If you're not busy, that's all.
I would be honoured to be on. Thank you.
No, thanks you. I'm raised up that you can come on. Now, next week, if you tune in next week, I've got another guest who's on for you know, the first half of the show, and it's Derek Shelvendine, and he's written a book, Rock and Roll Unraveled, and it's like an encyclopedia of everything, you know, all about rock and roll. It's incredible. It's about that thick. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Oh, I so look forward to that, yeah.
But just do you know who he's talking about, by the way, next week? You know, besides other things, but the main topic is Steve Marriott, Small Face.
Oh, great, our very own. Well, England's very own, not Liverpool's very own, but brilliant, Small Faces.
Yeah, I thought they were, but I seen them live, you know, and they were absolutely, you know, I was younger then, like, if you know what I mean, full of energy and everything else.
What a voice.
They were unbelievable. They were brilliant.
Right. Full of energy when you see the footage of them. Man, and a tremendous voice. Like Stevie Winwood.
Stevie Winwood.
Brilliant voice.
Keep on Running. Was it Keep on Running his first one? And he was only 17.
Yeah,
17
absolutely.
years of age with that voice.
If you're going to write one song in your life, you'd write something like that is lived on for generations.
Yes.
You know, our kids are part of the vinyl age now. They go out and they buy albums. And I play the R fella and say, that sounds like so-and-so, like Stevie Winwood or whatever. And then they go do their own research and check out stuff, which is great. That's the way forward. The way forward is to have one foot in the past.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And, to think that we, you and I and, all the lovely people that tunes in, we've all got one foot in the past. It was like when I was telling you before about that fella, and, he sent me a message. And he just said, thanks for the memories and the nostalgia and everything, because I can't make it back to Liverpool. Whether the man's there, I don't know. And he said, thank you. He said, it gave me a tear in the eye, So it's lovely things like that, that these little clips come through. These little clips, and they give people a little bit of a little bit of history, but also nostalgic memories as well.
Yeah.
So absolutely. And Karen Carryack, yeah, there she is, isn't it? What does she say?
Good night, Lynn.
I wish I could send you some pics of our late Queen. I have an amazing sketch from a very creative child. She's always drawing. I love it. That's interesting, isn't it? Isn't that interesting?
Through the eyes of children. Yeah, totally different perception on how we look. I mean, we can't help but grow up into our vanities.
No.
The red suit, hair, whatever. So it takes someone else to show us how we really look. And through the eyes of children, there's no lies. This is how you look. Have I really got ears that big, or is my nose that big? The eyes of children, yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it, the way some people perceive other people, and they look at you and whatever, and they find out that you're totally different from what their perception is before they meet you.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
That's spot on, isn't it? So anyway, I have to close now, unfortunately. And it's been, Anthony, I love your honesty, Dan, lady and everybody. Give her my love. Just give her my love, Lainey. Love that girl.
And thank you, Mark, there, and thank you, all of your lovely viewers and listeners. It's an absolute pleasure to spend some time in your company. Love it.
No, I've always enjoyed your company. I really have. And Karen Carryack says, my pic on my ID is from a child. She drew it for me 20 years ago. She's a designer now. Now, isn't that strange, Karen saying that about that child who's now a designer, right? Yeah. And you said you started off as a graphic designer.
She had a good way through education, and
of course.
I mean, with me, it was my mum and dad who were always at college.
Yeah. And Karen Carryack says, thank you, boys, for a great night. Get on to this, fella.
Thank you.
Stay out till 2 a.m., Frank.
You're missing buses.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But listen, so I'll see you in 2 weeks, yeah?
Yeah.
2 weeks. Yeah. And also, I'm going to organise you and John as well, to come on, because it's Tony Barton. Great show listening to the both of you. Isn't that lovely?
Thank you, Tony. Great name.
Isn't that lovely? And you know when Mark Kenny says, stay on till 2 a.m. like Ken Dodd, he's Gary Kariaki says, too true, Mark. You know, that's I'm blimey. But anyway, I've got to shut the show. Paul Jason's doing all the things as well. You know, he's producing the show. So I've just got to thank my wonderful guest, my special friends as well, for coming on tonight. And you'll see him again in 2 weeks' time. That's Anthony Brown. Love the man. And also, I've got to thank Jason Pennington for producing the show. I've got to thank Gap Painting Services for sponsoring the show.
Brilliant.
But most importantly, I've got to thank you. You make the Frank Carlyle Show and fantastic guests, the likes of Anthony Brown, the likes of John McCardle, these wonderful people. And hopefully, oh, look at this. As always, great show, Frank. Good night, chaps.
Good night, Charlie.
It's we're called chaps, but they're half getting posher, you know. It's good night, chaps. You know, and it is Tony Barton, you know, a great fella, great listening to the both of them. I just love it. So anyways, just for me, ladies and gents, to shut down tomorrow, but don't forget tomorrow, you football fans, we've got the podcast LFC. I've got Ian Golder in with me in here. I've got Marios Manzos, the author, journalist, and everything else. And we've got George Scott. Now, George Scott is the lost Shankly boy. And of course, my friend, Tommy Batty. And we'll all be here tomorrow night discussing LFC. To see if we're shining. And those tough people who think we're going to shine there. Mbappe, absolutely mad, it's crazy. So I'll see you all tomorrow night, you football fans. See you all on here who enjoy the show with Derek Shelmadine next Monday, and the week after, the wonderful Anthony Brown, the international artist and a very good friend of mine. Thank you so much for tuning in. And all I've got to do now is just say, ciao for now. Ci vediamo, as the Italians say. Thank you so much. Thank you.